Are you ready for this very special Saturday edition of The Movie Savant? Well, I am releasing this specific episode on a Saturday for a very interesting reason. So what happened is that I had a very busy work week this week, and I couldn't necessarily put all of that energy that I had for what I'm actually building in this video into one afternoon because I had work pretty much this entire week. So I kind of fell off the bandwagon in a way, and now I'm kind of compensating for that by releasing this video on a Saturday where I can actually just put all my ideas down on this video and not have to worry about, messing anything up. So now that you guys are caught up as to why we're releasing this episode on a Saturday, let's begin with today's awesome project. So a while ago, before I even thought of buying a 3D printer, as a matter of fact, I've been thinking about buying a 3D printer far before this, but before I bought my 3D printer, I was at the dollar store and I saw these high cleoche domes that they had just like right there at the Dollar Tree. And when I saw these, I was like, this is interesting. Specifically, if I want to use these for projects, this could work wonders for the projects that I have in mind. And I thought to myself, what kind of project could I do with these cleoche domes? And then something hit me very recently, obviously, after a month or two of having the 3D printer. I finally had a very interesting idea, and it had to do with probably one of the most interesting movies that have ever released, and that is the Terminator. Now, obviously, at this very moment, we are talking about Terminator 2 in specific, and a specific scene in the movie in which we actually catch a glimpse of what is left over from the very first Terminator in Terminator 1 that was actually packaged into a safe. And that is the very famous Terminator arm. Yes, the arm from the Terminator that you see on your screen right now in that scene really sparked an idea that, man, couldn't we take that idea and just shrink it down to something smaller? And then I said, you know what? I think we can pull it off. And that's exactly what today's project is about. So this project in its entirety isn't all that hard to do. It doesn't take that long to make this happen. You could probably sit down and do this in an afternoon, but because of my busy schedule this week, it was kind of hectic and it took me around 2 days just to get the whole thing set up. So let me walk you through the process and what materials you're going to need to make this a reality. So here are the items you are going to need to make this a reality. The first thing that you're going to need is a 3D printer. That's the obvious part. And make sure that if you don't have one, see if you have a friend who has a 3D printer that they're willing to let you borrow to make this project a reality. Second thing you're going to need is some hot glue, which is standard for big projects like that. You're also going to need a drill with some drill bits because you're going to have to be making some holes. You're going to need some string lights. You're going to need the high cloche domes. And you're going to need a caliper along with some metallic paint. So now that you have all your materials ready and you really want to make this project, well, let me walk you through what I did. So in order to get this onto a printer, you need to find the file that is going to go along with the specific project. Now, it's very simple. You could go to various websites. There's Cults 3D, there's Printables, there's Thingiverse. But if you don't want to go to any of these websites and you want to make your life a whole lot easier, you can go to Thangs. Thangs is a website that is essentially a search engine for 3D models. And it specifies in 3D printing, so you're going to find a lot of 3D printable objects on that website. So you're going to go on there, you're going to type in Terminator, and you're more than likely going to find the arm. And luckily, I was able to find the arm on Thingiverse. Of all places, Thingiverse had the file that I needed to make this project a reality. So I downloaded that file, and I transferred it over to Cura so that I could actually set it up to be printed. Now, I made sure that I actually added supports and added a brim at the bottom. I like to use a raft because it just makes it a whole lot easier to just peel off. A brim is a little harder because sometimes it doesn't come off, and you would have to use something like a knife or use any sort of like tool to actually pry off the edges. But with a brim, you really don't have to worry about that. You can just peel it right off and it'll be very easy to do. So once I had all those settings put in, I actually hit it to slice, and it was giving me a little over 2 hours for this print, which is not bad considering that for a very detailed print, you'd expect a lot longer, and in this case, it really wasn't that long. So after I hit slice, I saved it over to my SD card, I stuck it in my printer, and I hit print, and that thing kept printing for 2 hours. Now, while that was printing, I actually went outside, I took my drill with some drill bits, and I started to drill some holes around the base of the cleoche dome so that I could actually, put our lights right through those holes so that it would make it a whole lot easier to light this up, because the whole idea is to light up the dome with some lights. So I started to drill the holes, and I saw that they fit perfectly. Now, I started to think, the wires are gonna get in the way of when I sit the battery on the bottom of the cleoche dome. And to my, knowledge, I was like, you know what? I could resolve this a bit later, but for right now, I think that we can put the lights a little bit further up so that we don't have to worry about, any large amounts of cable getting in the way or it interfering with the fact that I'm going to put the batteries underneath the cloche dome. Now, after I drilled the holes and placed each individual light so that I could see whether or not it would fit, I remembered that I had work the next day. So I separated that time for something else, and I set it aside, and I came back to it 2 days later to actually give it the necessary attention that it needed, and that is when I started to glue things in place. But before I could glue anything in place, I had to make sure that I could paint my model the right color so that the Terminator arm isn't just black. So I went ahead and I used this chrome marker. Now, chrome markers are very easy to find. You can find them on Amazon pretty cheap. A set of 3, sometimes a set of 4, for anywhere between $5 to $10, which is really cheap for the effect that you're trying to reach with simply a pen. Now, after starting the paint of the actual model, I started to realize that this marker is magic because it actually started to give the chrome effect that is supposed to be on a Terminator arm. Now, the fact that I printed it out in black allowed for certain areas to actually not get painted, so it almost gives it a natural amount of depth wherever the pen couldn't reach. So you actually have some real depth in the actual model, and it looks really well detailed, specifically for the size that I got it. Now, painting didn't take me more than 15 minutes to do, and after the paint job was done, I said, now let's leave that to dry, and let's start putting these lights where they need to be. So I grabbed my hot glue gun, and I started to glue the lights in place, pointing inwards, because I want to make sure the model is the main focus of where the lights are pointing in. I tried my best to keep them at the same angle. Some stayed a little bit off, but nonetheless, they stayed pointing inwards, which was fantastic. Now, once that was done, I went ahead and tested it to see if the lights would turn on, and luckily they did, which is fantastic. So to make sure everything stayed in place exactly where it needed to be, I also glued the cables in place so that they wouldn't move around as much. And I also glued the case, the whole battery pack, in place on the side of the inner base of the dome. And I think it turned out really well. It's not moving or anything, but ultimately the goal is to create a whole other base to put it on so that it looks nicer, and I think about maybe using the chrome pen to give it that really cool Terminator-like look. And finally, the most important part of all, we get to hot glue this hand in position so that we can have the full effect of the hand inside the dome like we see in the movie. And hot gluing this was absolutely perfect. It didn't move around a lot, and since the piece is so lightweight, just a little bit of hot glue is more than enough to get this ball rolling. And all in all, I am very satisfied with the results that I got for this project. Now, this project is something that, if you're a fan of Terminator, you're gonna recognize this from the movie. You're gonna see it and you're gonna say, okay, this is really cool, and it's something you can do in the afternoon. I mean, I just love the chrome effect that comes off of this right here. It's incredible. I mean, you know, you don't expect the chrome to do this much good, and it leaves certain areas untouched so that it does give that depth feeling. But just looking at it is incredible. I mean, you look at it in the light and you see that chrome effect. It's really cool. To think that this is actually just a piece of plastic that you can just paint is pretty awesome. And the effect itself of having the lights underneath it, the lights aren't that strong, to be honest with you. If you find stronger LEDs and you can put them underneath the Cleoche dome like I did here, you're gonna be in luck, because it's gonna look a whole lot better than this. But like I said, in the future, I'm gonna 3D print a base so that this battery pack isn't sticking out from the ground, and that way it's gonna look really nice, and it's gonna sit on a nice base with possibly some 3D text that's really gonna make it look awesome, and to put on a shelf, it's gonna be really cool. So that is it for this awesome project that I have. I have to thank every single one of you for watching this video. If you haven't already, go down in the comments below and tell me if you plan on making this actual project. Now, if you want to make this project and send me photos and videos and stuff, make sure to do that, because in a future episode, I may use those shots. I may use those videos that you have of this very project. So go ahead, make this project your own, make it unique, make it your, whatever kind of way you want it. Make the dome out of glass, incorporate different ideas into this design, and make something maybe even better than what I did. And if you can do that, send me that footage, send me those photos, and I will post it in a future episode of the Movie Savant. Now, as for another part of the news on this channel, this will be our very last video of the year. Yes, this is the last video that I'm making for 2023, and because of that, I would like to wish every single one of you a very happy holidays to whatever you celebrate, whether it be Christmas, Kwanzaa, whether it be Hanukkah, or any number of incredible holidays that happen around this season. And as well, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy new year so that you guys can think about the future, think about the incredible things that are yet to come. And I would like to let you know I have lots of really great stuff planned for the future of this channel in the new year, and some cool announcements that I hope to make sometime in February, which will be our 1-year anniversary of the movie Savant. So I would like to close this year off with a very big, very huge, very something thank you. Thank you from my, deep down in my heart. Thank you so much for watching these videos, and if you would like to be a part of this channel, part of this incredible community, feel free to send me a message anytime on any one of these videos. I love to open up conversations with you guys about things that you love, things that you guys enjoy doing, and yeah, it's going to be a very interesting end of the year, and thank you so much for watching this video. Happy holidays and a happy new year to everyone, and I'll see you next year.